right, folks, so the Peter versus Peter run for the PNP presidential position. Whoa, a lot of P's there. All came to an end on Saturday. We tried to have both Mr. Bunting and Dr. Phillips on this morning, but I can just imagine how busy they are right now. So with us, PNP's vice president and someone who supported the incumbent, Dr. Phillips, Senator Damian Crawford. Morning, sir.
Hey, thank you.
Welcome to Smile Jamaica.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you on behalf of Peter Phillips.
I think you said you were a bit surprised with the turnout, 96%,
Yes.
I think it was.
Yes.
And I was telling Sim this morning, I can't remember ever hearing any election where so much people turn out. Why? Why do you think everyone jumped on this?
Well, when we use historical data to project, we figured that 70–75% would have been a large turnout, based on the fact 67, for example, when 4 vice presidents were up. However, what has happened is it's the first time we have had such a public campaign for such a long time. It was a 96-day campaign, which is not normal. And secondly, it was TV advertisements, billboards, radio advertisements. So even some delegates that would not normally have been found and engaged and excited would have then been informed, engaged, and excited. And it's only good for us because it means that 96% of the core of the party were motivated to show up. Yeah. And even though 50% and 49% voted for each candidate, they were motivated to show up and act for the betterment of the party, in their opinion.
Yeah. Those radio ads, those TV ads, those billboards were not supposed to have been a thing.
Well, they were, yeah.
We heard your one PNP speaking about that, mutedly,
yes.
although. But it's interesting that with all of that, Dr. Phillips was still able to walk away victorious. What do you think gave him the edge?
In every competition, different teams have different advantages. For example, Georges may have a good keeper, Casey will have a good forward defense midfield. So
wow, 3-1. Wow.
But more seriously, if George have a good defense, they will focus on their defense. And if Casey have a good forward line, they'll focus on that part. So we'll try to outscore them, and they will try to defend strongly. So Peter Bunting had a very good external campaign, but I think our internal machinery was more effective than his. We had more of the faces of the party supporting Peter Phillips. And at the end of the day, that defeated the general excitement that he created.
Was it a substance hype?
No.
No?
At the end, as I said, that was his advantage. Because if he had all the officers and all the senators, he could have run a different campaign. You have to run a campaign based on what you have. And so when he saw what he had, I think that he ran an effective campaign based on what he had.
I keep hearing the delegates. Who is a delegate to the PNP?
A delegate is 1 in every 10 persons that voluntarily form a group within the People's National Party. So if I have a group, Garden Town Risers, and 10 of us exist, and you'll choose 1 from the 10 to be a representative.
I keep, well, not keep hearing, but some people would not either tell us they can't vote or wouldn't tell us who they
would not declare.
You were a vice president.
Yes, that doesn't go for us, but the person who are organizing the election, it would be difficult if the person organizing the election declared for a candidate. So that the general secretary who's organizing the election, he still has a vote. But it would be under great scrutiny and questioning if the general secretary declared his support.
Mr. Bunting got almost 50% of the votes.
Yes.
Which would suggest that 50% of the delegates did not agree with what your side of the election was coming with. What does that
49,
say?
Yes.
What was that say?
Well, it suggests that you're on an effective campaign. It suggests that there are persons who were concerned along the lines that he promoted. But it also shows me that there's a difference. You see, if you, myself, and Simone go for breakfast and we have to share a drink, I say orange juice, Simone say pineapple juice. Now, 2 of us are in disagreement. But when you come and say rum, as you would, then we will then become persons to say, no, not you, Neville, not you, we want juice. Yeah. So that's what happens. Some people said Bunting, some people says Phillips. But we are all in agreement that we don't want the JLP. And so, therefore, we hope that that 49 and that 51 will come
Okay, so that's an
to
interesting analogy. But based on what we saw on Saturday, and I'm going to go back to Dr. Phillips's speech right after the victory was announced, there are some folks who are looking on with great scrutiny to wonder why he did not mention Mr. Bunting by name. There seems to be a bit of a chasm in the party now that people are wondering, how do you fix this? There are people who are saying the big winner in this is Andrew Holness. I mean, how are you going to You spoke about the olive branch that
Yes.
you are now ready to extend. Dr. Phillips, in his interview, said there's no olive branch to extend because there's no issue. You said the war done. Some people said the war just started. So
Yes.
how do you...
Well, Dr. Phillips even invited them to join us in our celebration.
After. But he didn't mention him in his speech at all.
Remember, you went through the fire and you came out victorious. To say that he didn't write a speech, he came up, he thanked all the people that supported him, and he then extended an invitation on the day to come over and join us.
But wouldn't it have been noble, you think, to at least mention your opponent? I mean, Peter Bunting did in his...
In hindsight, it would have been better because you take away the ability for persons to use as a weapon. That's something that I'm trying to learn. Sometimes I give people weapons to use against me.
This is true.
No, not not intentionally, but whenever you're in a battle, don't give weapons to use against you.
Senator, were you surprised with the challenge in the first place?
Yes, I was surprised with the challenge because even
Were you surprised because of who challenged or just with the challenge overall?
We knew Peter Bunting had interest from 2016. He was going around, he was campaigning, and then he withdrew that campaign. So we knew he had interest. However, because elections was on the horizon, we feel elections might be November, might be March, the latest. We felt that this time would have been an unfortunate diversion of our efforts and abilities.
Still feel so?
Yeah, I still feel so because for the last 2 months I was in Westmoreland instead of Portland. So I was campaigning for delegates instead of campaigning for voters.
Which makes the argument about the chasm even wider because it shifted focus now to an internal election when you all should have been looking at the broader picture.
Right.
How do you now galvanize and come together?
It also exposed talent. For example, it exposed to us that Ian Hales is a good platform speaker. We didn't know that because when the squad match wasn't being played, he was not on the starting 11. Now we know that we have other people who could be in Manchester when we are in Westmoreland. It showed that there's some actual great narrative-forming talent on Peter Bunting's side.
A double-barrel question. Yeah. The General Secretary, and I quote, reconciliation will require very deliberate effort.
Yes.
So speak to me about the effort. And the other question is Dr. Campbell said he's given the minister or the leader latitude. Would you want to see everyone who went against the leader to give that same kind of latitude to allow the leader to do what he wants?
That wouldn't be good. I mean, to give the leader latitude, the leader always had that latitude. He can change whatever he wants to change. And he did say after Portland, before the challenge, that he'll be making some shifts going into the general election period. So he can make those shifts. However, Dr. Campbell has shown himself to be an efficient shadow spokesperson. But that is the responsibility of the leader based on the seats that he has and the duties that Dr. Campbell may have. But I don't think that there'll be any great fallout.
Reconciliation will require very deliberate effort.
Especially by the victors.
Right.
Because the ones who would be feeling aggrieved will be those who didn't win.
So what do you do?
And
you
so
call in everyone and you start
like
from
I have already
scratch?
started calling. I mean, I'm calling Ian Hayes because we have a bet, so he has to pay me. Based on
but after that...
And some of us are still friends. There'll be different boxes of friends.
Some?
Yeah, because there's a campaign. People said things that they didn't think should be said, and therefore they might just be colleagues now. They might not have a drink. And over time it will evolve to be friends again. But the fact that we're not, that we were in disagreement, don't mean that we're divided.
But beyond the friendships, though, sir, now you have to look at addressing issues of vote buying, internal poking, you are buying votes, you are cavorting with dons. Some of the things that were said really cut deep.
Yes.
So how you going to get past those things, one, internally, but also convince the electorate that those things are not true?
Well, I don't know if some of them are not true.
And how do you hold the people to account who would have been accused of those things?
The vote buying has not been discussed sufficiently in our society. If a political party benefits from the circumstance of the people being poor, then that political party will not be motivated to change that circumstance. That is the fundamental basis of a refusal of buying votes, because it is the poorest that sell their rights.
But vote buying has been a thing, no?
It has been a consistent thing, and poverty has also been a consistent thing. So there's a correlation between the politics being able to take advantage of poverty and the politics being unwilling to solve poverty.
In both administrations.
Because they're taking advantage. Now, in my opinion, the PNP has been the one least able to buy when compared to the Jamaica Labour Party based on resources available, but has also been the champion against it over time. And so when we start to do it and promote it to the public that it's being done, it then reduces our competence, our ability to champion against it because we were participants.
Do you think Dr. Phillips won because the delegates thought that were their election, now or whenever, he would be better able to win that election as leader than Mr. Bunting?
I think mainly they think he's the best prime minister we have to offer, and it is our duty to offer
What
the
do you
best
say
prime
to
minister
Mr.
we have.
Bunting and the folks who did
An
not
excellent
vote for your side?
campaign. They have proven to us that there is skill on their side that we were lacking. And by extension, we would be happy to have those skills because they were able to form narratives that we couldn't even imagine were formable.
Does that mean that you've learned a lot from that side?
Well, we haven't learned sufficient. They still have the skills. We have observed it, and we'd like for them to carry it to the table so we can learn it.
So it would now serve you well to draw him close.
Well, he was always close.
Closer.
To the leader, maybe.
Fill the gap. Because
there are people-
that number of votes, you need that sway,
and
you need
there are
that
people that come,
buy-in.
you see, because they supported Bunting, don't mean they only come with Bunting. There are PNP people that had an opinion, but their talent wasn't unearthed and wasn't forecasted to us before. Now we see that talent, so we have to draw it in.
Final question from me, Senator. Were there an election pretty soon? Does what happened on the weekend or what's been happening over the last couple of months help the PNP or hurt the PNP?
I think net, it hurts. Now, when you say net, it means there's some good and there's some bad, but I think there's more bad if there's an immediate election because there's still anger, there's diversion of funds, there's diversion of human effort, and so therefore I will now have to re-engage. There wasn't any numeration happening because we were campaigning. So the general election, we would have been at a slight disadvantage. It don't mean we won't win. It means that instead of 5 love, it might be 4 love.
Interesting. Okay.
Thank you,
I'm
sir.
sure the JLP is listening keenly to that.
Good
Thank
to
you
see you,
very
sir.
much.
PNP's Vice President, Senator Damian Crawford.
All right, from one Crawford to another, PNP powwow continues. Richard Dickey Crawford on the other side.
Not related to this Crawford.
No relation, yes. Kevin O'Brien Chang also joins us after this.